England in the 1950s was a time of rebuilding. The war was over, but life was still simple. People worked hard. They looked forward to a brighter future. In a small town called Hexham in Northumberland, one family had their own bright future. John and Florence Pollock were a happy couple. They were devout Catholics. They had two beautiful daughters. Joanna was 11 years old. She was a lovely, responsible girl. Jacqueline was 6 years old. She was full of fun and mischief. They were just like any other family, full of hopes and dreams for their children. The day was 5th May, 1957. It was a Sunday. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. The girls were walking to church. They were with a friend, a boy named Anthony Layden. Their parents were a little behind them. Suddenly, a car came speeding down the road. The driver had lost control. The car mounted the pavement. It struck the three children with terrible force. The accident was over in a moment. But the lives of the Pollock family were changed forever in that single awful instant. Both Joanna and Jacqueline were killed instantly. Their young friend Anthony also died from his injuries. For John and Florence Pollock, the world had ended. Their home, once filled with laughter, was now silent. John, a man of strong faith, began to pray. He prayed for a miracle. He prayed that his daughters would come back to him. Florence thought this was impossible. She told him not to wish for such things. But John's prayers were incredibly specific. He did not just pray for more children. He prayed for his own girls to return. It was a story that would challenge what we believe about life, death, and what might come after. 1 year passed. Florence Pollock became pregnant again. The doctors told her she was expecting a single child. But John Pollock was certain of something else. He was convinced that Florence was carrying twins. He believed this was the answer to his prayers. On 4th October 1958, Florence gave birth. John's conviction proved to be true. She delivered not one, but two healthy baby girls. They were identical twins. From the very beginning, he saw them as more than just new babies. He saw them as the reincarnation of Joanna and Jacqueline. As the twins grew, strange things began to happen. Jennifer, one of the twins, had a small white line on her forehead. It was in the exact same place where Jacqueline had a scar. She also had a birthmark on her hip. It was identical to a birthmark Jacqueline had. These physical marks were surprising, but the girls' behavior was even more startling. The family had moved away from Hexham. The twins had never been there. Yet they seemed to know the town. They pointed out landmarks that their dead sisters would have known. They knew the way to their old school. They also recognized their dead sisters' toys. They called the dolls Joanna. They called the dolls Jacqueline. It was as if they were not just playing with old toys. They were remembering a life they had never lived. The most chilling moments came when the girls started to talk about the accident. They would cry out in their sleep, terrified of cars. They spoke of a car rushing towards them. They described the feeling of blood in their eyes. They did this with a fear that seemed too real for a young child. The most chilling moments came when the girls started to talk about the accident. They spoke of a car rushing towards them. They described the feeling of blood in their eyes. They did this with a fear that seemed too real for a young child. They would cry out in their sleep, terrified of cars. Not everyone was convinced by the strange events in the Pollock household. While the story was fascinating, many people looked for more ordinary explanations. Children are like little sponges. They soak up everything around them. It was possible the twins had simply overheard things. One of the first alternative explanations was memory contamination. This idea suggests that the twins' memories were not their own, but fragments of information passed on by their parents. Skeptics argue that when people are looking for signs, they tend to find them. John Pollock was actively searching for proof. This is known as confirmation bias. The parents, especially Florence, were understandably terrified of cars after the accident. Children are very sensitive to their parents' emotions and can adopt a parent's fear as their own. The role of the girl's father, John Pollock, is central to any skeptical analysis. His strong belief would have shaped how he interacted with Gillian and Jennifer. Children are highly suggestible. They want to please their parents. A child may unconsciously begin to provide the signs a parent is looking for. What seemed like miraculous knowledge to the grieving parents could have been a simple response to subtle, unintentional guidance. The most important figure to take an interest was Dr. Ian Stevenson. He dedicated his career to the scientific study of reincarnation. Stevenson saw the Pollock case as one of the strongest pieces of evidence for reincarnation in the Western world, giving the story a new level of credibility. As the twins grew older, something strange happened. Or rather, something stopped happening. By the time they were about 5, their memories began to fade. Their intense fear of cars gradually lessened. They became more interested in their own lives, in the here and now. They were simply Gillian and Jennifer. The window into that other world, if it ever existed, seemed to have closed. The girls grew up and lived ordinary lives. As adults, they have stated they have no memory of their supposed past lives. Their father, John, held on to his belief until he died in 1982. Florence remained more uncertain, and so the case rests. It remains one of the most famous and debated stories of its kind. There is no final proof either way. You can choose to see a powerful story of family love, grief, and suggestion. Or you can see a genuine spiritual mystery, a glimpse beyond our normal understanding of life and death. The Pollock twins case remains an open question, a quiet invitation to reflect, a whisper of the extraordinary in an ordinary world.